Hey, YouTube followers. This is Gary Campbell. I'm here with Sean Battle. Sean is, I'll let Sean explain all the things that he does. He's a tremendous asset to the Newark community. Sean, tell us a little bit about what you do in the community.
Well, first of all, Gary, thank you for having me here. And my apologies, YouTube universe, if I sound a little drowsy. Um, I did not get any sleep
Tell
last
them.
night. Last night was the show I host every Thursday night, Evolution Open Mic. And it was one of those nights where it definitely got real in the building. And that was just on my mind all throughout the night. It was one of those things where some of you understand it changes you or shifts your consciousness so much is going on in your head, you can't get any sleep whatsoever. I ended up doing writing and other work as a result. So my apologies in advance. But I am a poet as well as an author. A full-length collection, The Forest of Bricks, you can find on Amazon as well as other stores here in Newark. I'll get to that in a second. But I am also the founder and executive director of Evolve NJ Edutainment, a company, a brand which presents platforms that not only inspire but educate and just let people have a great time. I used to mix in uh, educative aspects as well as some entertainment as well. Evolution Open Mic is one of those shows, and I have other events under that umbrella with the same mission. So I'm grateful to be here, and let's get it going.
So let me just say, I have to tell you the first time I saw Sean was we're at Military Park in Newark, and he was part of the Dodge Poetry Festival. And I was just talking to another poet. The energetic impression that he gives, the poem he did, I remember afterwards I just went up to him, I was like, man, don't stop doing what you're doing. I don't know what was going on, but I feel you. He is a tremendous artist. He has such a passion for his art. And like I say about the artist, you have to experience him. So follow up on coming to his events, support him, um, support his book, purchase his book. Now, I just wanted to ask, Sean, how do you explain your artistry, or your art?
I've said this before, and I've been saying it since. I write and perform and even build shows now to create a world where whenever it feels like I don't belong anywhere else. And I share because I know there are other people with similar backgrounds like mine, with similar struggles, who need to be shown that they do belong somewhere, that there is a place for them to go, that there is someone with similar thought patterns, there is someone who sees similar to what they see. I was born and raised in Camden, New Jersey for 10 years, graduated from high school in Pennsauken, and I like to say this. I'm from Newark by way of New Brunswick, by way of Voorhees, by way of Pennsauken, by way of Camden, New Jersey. I say New Brunswick because I say New Brunswick because my bachelor's is in English from Rutgers, New Brunswick. I moved to Newark for my Master's of Fine Arts in Poetry. And so for me, and I was at Rutgers, Newark. And so for me, when I explain my artistry, it's about creating a world where it feels like I don't belong anywhere else. Keep to myself a lot. I'm a nomad, I guess, or like a loner, really. Just me, the laptop, my book bag, all of that. And I try to keep to myself a lot, unless I'm on stage or unless I'm building with other people. And I know there are others who have, similar experiences like mine. So it's about me expressing that so that I can see it, create the art that I need to see, as well as create the art that others may need to see and others may need to experience, especially as a Black American man in what's
Yes,
going on right now.
yes, yes. So if I hear you right, it's almost like your art is creating a haven,
Yes.
a community, a safe community, and you've used that term almost all the time
Hmm.
when you have your events. That this is a safe community in that the artist is able to express
Hmm.
themselves. Whatever is coming out of here, they can feel safe. And we all need that. The artist needs that because the culture does not provide that for us.
Right.
They say they do, but when it comes down to it, when we really say what we want to say from our belly, out of our spirit, sometimes you get a lot of frowns.
Right.
You're looked down upon. They want to place you here. But you're creating this whole haven. How did your skill develop? When did you know that you had this gift?
Well, to your point, my thing is this: get it out, get it out, so that because I
Get it out.
I rather people get it out, get out their truth, so that others can learn from them, and that they can learn from others. I'd rather people have that conversation, have those discussions, and have find a way of balancing things out, as well as if there's something that needs to be dismantled in regards to language, in regards to thought pattern, that's an opportunity to do so if one is open to it. So I'd rather have that occur rather than shut people down from the get-go. I'm prone to doing that myself sometimes, but even I have to keep in mind that I got to hear people out in regards to their viewpoints and see where the balance comes out. And that expresses, or that inspires my art form, that inspires how I do art in regards to it springboarding myself into education. And I realized I had that back in junior year, Pensarka High School. It was a reading contest, told this 1,000 times. There's a reading contest that we had in my U.S. history class. We had to write a poem inspired by World War I. And I waited, of course, until the last minute, and by last minute, I meant the period before, which was lunch, ripped out some composition notebook paper, and wrote a poem, because that rhymed, because all poems have to rhyme, right? And it was in the voice of a soldier in the trenches at World War I.
Wow.
It was my first persona poem, and it was only like that because I remember reading something where, I forget who said it, but they said the only way we're leaving here is on a stretcher. And so I ran with that and created a character for the poem, created a persona for the poem, an experience that was not mine. I go to class, I go to the reading contest. Mind you, in that room were a bunch of quote unquote popular folk, those who, they had cultural collateral in the context of high school. They go up there and their hands are shaking like this. They're nervous. And something in me just go, what is wrong with you? Some of them were trying to rap, but they didn't have the swag, I hate that term. They didn't have the bravado to go with it. But, and I'm looking at them like, yo, what, no, you can't go into that style and come half-cocked. So that upset me. And to the point where I said, let me show them how it's done. Like, I didn't say it like that, but looking back, my energy was along the lines of, let me show them how it's done. And I ended up reading the contest, long story short. So I recognized that I had something there, but it wasn't until I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and got involved with what's now the Verbal Mayhem Poetry Collective, that I realized, okay, there are people who are listening. There are people who are seeing that I'm getting better, that I'm developing as a writer, because I don't even want to get into that. Let's just say everyone has a beginning. But I realized people were listening, and I realized that there was an energy that I had that people appreciated. And that helped me continue developing my art form, and it made me realize, okay, I have something. Like, there are a couple of moments where I had to remind myself or see that, okay, I got something going here. There have been different moments. Even when, producing shows. I teach at Essex County College, and in 2014, early 2014, we had our humanities conference. I was asked to, for the closing ceremony, put together a tribute show for Amiri Baraka. He passed months ago. And it was the first show I had produced in years after I graduated from Rutgers, New Brunswick.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll host it. I got the live band together. I got a lot of the poets that I knew of from the area, and I said, hey, can you come out and do this? and they were up for it. I put together the show with the help of many, and I said, "Yo, this was dope." And I realized, okay, if I build it, they will come. If I build it, people will come, and the right people will come.
Right. You know what I like that you talk about? I hear the teacher in you, and you embraced it, not just as an artist, but you understand that people come in at different places, and you accept that, and that's important for the teacher to be able to accept people where they are, so they can develop. Because I just talked to somebody, and people can get scared away because they don't see out here that innate gift. There's no place that gift is allowed. But when they have a space such as yours, which is very important, I can't overemphasize the importance of the teacher, and especially the teacher in the artistic community. So that's like, I mean, that's beyond big to me, that you have these environments where people can be taught. And I know you had some workshops too along the way too, didn't you?
Yes. Shout outs to Selah, the author who helped put together or founded the Montclair Poetry Festival. It was through being a part of that event, or wanting to be a part of that event, that I put together my first poetry writing workshop called Writing Your Walk, which is an introduction to the Bop poem. The form is relatively young,
Wow.
and the name comes from old Baltimore slang that describes a man's walk. Shout out to the poet Afaa Michael Weaver, who founded the forum in around 1997, and he explained it as the bop being the playing of a score of what it means for a poet to be. So it's about identity. So I've done workshops on and off before that, but Writing Your Walk is my staple workshop at this point. I've done it a couple of times because the bop has been my favorite form. It's been my go-to form at times, and again, it plays into thinking about one's walk, thinking about how they're moving, how they're not moving, what it says about them. You know, what's the picture, what's being shown, what's being projected, and what does it say about what's inside of you? I even asked during the workshop, describe your walk in one word. I've heard slow, I've heard sturdy, I've heard energetic, I've heard all these different descriptions. And so I've done workshops in the past where I've taught on my own, teaching at Essex County College, which has helped me refine my skills as a teacher. And it's funny because when I announced that I had gotten the job in summer of 2013, some people started calling me professor. Like, even I'm a part-timer, I'm an adjunct.
Right.
But people started calling me professor, and it got to the point where it stuck for a lot of people. I was in the scene. First I was the MFA student, I was the grad student. Now I'm the professor. So it took me a minute because I definitely didn't see being a teacher coming, to be honest with you. But it was one of those things where it was revealed to me by the universe, by God. And I had to run with it. I had to run with what was being put in front of me so that I could do the work that I need to do. So everything has been education based. Everything has been about creating that classroom or creating that space where you do meet people where they are. Because again, you learn more from discussion. You learn more from conversation. You learn more from being around your peers. And I'd rather just be the spark or create the platform that leads to that than
That's what the teacher does. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. They put my own political views on it completely.
Right. Yes. And tell us, like, how does spirituality play with your art?
It's weird for me to say I was raised in the church. I was kind of in and out of the church a little bit.
It's for everybody.
Yeah. I was raised Christian, though. I was raised Baptist Christian. And so that was what I knew first. When I started going to college and started getting more, honestly, into poetry, it was through poetry and through art that I started to get different viewpoints and started questioning more things. And so that led to a lot of changes, not only in my degrees, my bachelor's in English and my minor in Africana Studies, but also just thinking about, okay, there's more than to what is out there than what I've been taught so far.
Right, yes.
From what's been left out of the textbooks to what's been how schools and are structured these days, what's the focus on these days, and I realized that um, there's more out there, and I had to explore it, and I had to realize what my family or my loved ones or other people, what they've taught me over the years. There is truth to it, but there's also other viewpoints. That's how I function as a scholar. Even well, when I want to be a scholar or want to be an academic, I have the elements of being. I feel like I have the elements of being an academic
Right.
because a lot of my
You do.
writing.
You are academic.
It's weird for me to say that because when I think of academic, when I think of scholars, I think of those who really put their focus on getting their work out there in regards to research papers, in regards to getting themselves published, in regards to coming from that end first, in regards to research first. I have the elements of an academic. I will do research where I need to, and I will definitely put some papers out if it's called for. I'm an artist first, so I function off of that. Um, yeah, I'm more logic based. I'm more practical to a fault, and sometimes I gotta break myself out of that. That's where the art comes in.
Right. Art to me. I heard the mayor of Newark talk about this, and he talks about art culture is equivalent to science. And so I hear you like having this little problem going back and forth. But to me, the artist is more powerful than academia because they're structures, they're set. But the artist is the one that can recreate anew, afresh, and deal with all aspects of what we deal with. And so I agree with you. You are an artist. You are an artist, and it feels uncomfortable when somebody wants to say, "Oh, you're an educator," and put a prof. But as an artist, and specifically a teacher, an artist that can teach, is much more profound because now you go out and teach other artists how to recreate,
Right.
which is not being done. That leads me into my next question: how does the artist change and recreate Newark?
Learn the rules that have been set. Learn and know when to bend. Learn and know when to break.
Ooh.
That's how I function. That's how.
You gotta explain that.
That's how it's how I function with my own art, because by learning more through creative writing classes and my MFA, they put a lot of emphasis on the written word. They put a lot of emphasis on form, whereas what people call spoken word or just performance is kind of met with controversy at times. So it's like my focus was put on, thanks to teachers like poet Tara Betts, who also has a performance background, as well as Evie Shockley, who introduced me to this idea of the black aesthetic in regards to art. I focused on being a writer first, and that's what lead me to think, if it's not good on the page, it's not going to be good on the stage. You need to have a launching pad. So I learned the rules in regards to Eurocentric form and all that, as well as the forms that are being created still in terms of exercises, challenging your language, challenging how you break lines and everything. I learned those rules and what they are, so that the more you learn about that, the more you still have that playfulness when you were a child.
Right. The inner child. Right.
The more you have that in you, the more you're going to, okay, this is what's seen as the norm. Let's see what happens when I go over here. Let's see what happens when I break it all together and just demolish it and abolish it. So
I love that. I love that. I'm sorry, but I love that because what he's saying is what I keep saying. It's the artist that recreates. We know there's a paradigm set up, but the paradigm doesn't fit where we live and where a lot of people live. So we have to come with these spiritual components and break through the artistry. And many times we don't know how it's going to happen in terms of the overview or the worldview. But right now we focus on the community of Newark. We focus on what Sean is doing and how he's doing and how he's touching the community.
Right. And the thing with that is, to your point, I have to do that, especially as a black American man.
Yes. I missed that.
My thing is, and it's essays like The Negro Artist and The Racial Mountain by Langston Hughes that really helped me keep me grounded in terms of that, or the poem Black Art by Mary Baraka that really keeps me grounded with this. Um, there are certain things that people of color, that Black people in America and in the United States, I should say, in the United States and elsewhere, that we are faced with certain adversity. We are faced with certain forms of oppression, and the only way that is going to be recognized if people realize where we need to break the norm. We had this conversation at Evolution last night. The theme was part one of a 2-week theme that focused on gentrification.
Right.
And I feel last night ended up setting the tone for what's going to happen next week. Because I do want to have that conversation in regards to what's going on in the redevelopment of Newark, in the city of Newark, I should say, and how that affects, other areas in New Jersey. And we had a little bit of that, but we also had experiences or moments where I realized the big thing with gentrification is, as we bring in these big time labels, as we bring in these big time chains, as we bring in people with a lot of money, or let them come in and take up land, or in any way, shape, or form, there is a risk of the soul of community being lost. In regards to those...
Can you just say that again? Very clear to the audience. Risk? Go ahead. You got it, because we're going fast, and he turned into scientist on me, because I'm lost. Say it again. Just tell them again.
As development continues here in the city of Newark, notice I said the city of Newark, there is a risk if people with our experiences who look similar to us,
right,
with stories similar to us, are not in the conversation in any way, shape, or form, while at the same time not forgetting who they are and where they came from, there is a risk of a city, any city, losing the soul of its community.
Yes, yes, sir.
And the soul comes from its artists. The soul comes from its people who grew up here and live here.
Power to the people.
Absolutely. And it comes from those who, they want to create their own identity and have that identity add to the community that they're in. They don't want to be part of a chain, something that's elsewhere. They want to be part of something that, it may have its foothold elsewhere, but whenever it's in that town, it has its own flavor that is reflective and respecting the culture that was here before it got here. That's what I want to do with Evolve and J. Yes, Newark is the home base. I want to expand elsewhere, but Newark is the home base, and wherever Evolve and J is, I want to honor how things are done in that town. What we do here in Newark, I have to honor how things are done in the bricks, while at the same time helping to change what needs to be changed.
Right.
Military Park is beautiful. It truly is. And I'm grateful that we have that here. I just want to make sure that as more stuff like this is done, that more of us, people like us, are in the conversation, or keeping up with what's going on, and are doing our part in making sure the soul of the community is not being lost.
We have to remain the fabric of what the city is, and we can't lose any of our soulfulness. No way, no form.
Absolutely, and that's what's gonna happen. That's what we're getting into next week, in terms of what can be done, because the gentrification is happening.
Be there. What's the location? Be there. If you get this YouTube, be there.
That's what we're going to be getting into. How can we keep the soul of the community going? What can be done in the midst of all this redevelopment, and how can we use it to our advantage? For example, Evolution Open Mic is on Halsey Street. Get that big building that's almost done. I walked past it. It's almost done at this point. That's going to be the new Prudential building. It's almost done, and that's going to change the fabric of how, who's coming into Halsey now. So it's like people like me and you and others, who see Halsey as this almost this mecca or this center of the arts, or a big part of the art scene here in Newark. We have to keep that culture going. So I'm grateful that Evolution started last October at the Coffee Cave, which is no longer around, which is on Halsey Street. Was on Halsey Street.
Right.
I'm grateful that it's still going on now at Burger Wala, 47 Halsey Street, which NJ.com voted or ranked as the third best burger joint in the state of New Jersey. Okay? Burger joint with an Indian twist right here in Newark, and that's where Evolution is every Thursday night, 6 p.m. start time. We recently started doing a $5 cover because we have live painting through the Canvas of Resource project, a collaboration with Evolve NJ and Urban Queen brand. Shout out to its founder, Miss Queen Moore. We bring in guest facilitators, visual artists all around Newark, all around New Jersey, who bring in their artwork to display on stage along with previous core pieces, as well as everyone in attendance, performers and audience members, pick up a brush at some point and add to that canvas. We have the Evolve NJ Games, where prizes are local products from artists, certificates from local businesses, anything that shows you don't have to go far in terms of resources. You have what you have here in New Jersey, you know? And we also bring in voices, ascended artists, I call them. We bring in features once a month or twice a month. Some of the best in New Jersey and outside of New Jersey, so that people are exposed to new voices. So we bring in those at least once a month, and if you want to keep up with what's going on with that, Facebook, SEAN Battle, Sean Battle on Twitter, at Sean Battle, SEESEAN BATTLE. Same thing for my Instagram. And also you can find Evolve NJ on Poetry247.com. Shout out to Christopher K.B. Brown, who's doing tremendous work in getting the word out there for poetry all across the United States. So it's like, that's what we do at Evolution. And it's about, you know, it's about resources, it's about working with what you have to create that beauty. We named our live painting project the Canvas of Resource, CORE for short, because we'll take traditional canvas, we'll take cardboard boxes, we'll take whatever somebody threw out,
Nice.
you know, from the trash or whatever, and use that as a canvas. The idea is that no matter what is put in front of us, no matter what we have, we are going to create something that keeps the soul of the community alive.
Yes.
Because in the words of WWE superstar Triple H, in life, you either adapt or you perish. That is Evolution.
Peace. Thanks, Sean.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Let's show the book again.
And you can find this, by the way, The Forest of Bricks, my first full-length collection of poems. Shout outs to Create Space Publishing, wink wink, hashtag independent authors. You can find this on Amazon.com, but I prefer you either see Sean Battle at Evolution or wherever I'm at. I always have copies with me. Also, you can find this at Center Stage Cuts, 472 Broad Street in Newark, New Jersey. You can find us at Source of Knowledge Bookstore, as well as the Artisan Collective. 3 black businesses where this is being shown, where this is being sold. Support your own, support black businesses as well as you can.
Peace.
Peace.